It is 6:30 in the morning and just about to head up camping. This is going to be interesting. Tim and I are actually going together in the same car and in the same canoe. This is the first time Tim and I have camped going in the same canoe in ages. We have been going in our separate canoes, which I frankly enjoy because you have your own canoe, you can do what you want. But for this trip, because it was such a long drive, we figured it'd be good to go back to the old ways of doing things and actually be two men in a canoe. On this trip, Tim and I are camping on the eastern side of Algonquin Provincial Park, kind of near Barron Canyon. We actually drove in along the Barron Canyon road, put in at the Achray campsite, and we have paddled over to Stratton Lake for our first night, and then we're going to be moving on to Length Lake for night 2. Well, we have arrived at the Achray Campground where we're putting in. We're going to paddle over to Stratton Lake, and so we're going to be staying tonight. Dam across this river, which you have to portage around. I think it's a short one, maybe 50 meters. So we're gonna do that now. Just a little low dam. I know it's not safe to go over a dam, but it kind of looks like if you went really fast, you'd make it over. But you wouldn't really, not safely. So that's why you portage. So yeah, I both like really short portages and find them frustrating because you're in and out, but at least it's not a big, long, tiring one. On Stratton Lake, we have a multitude of choices for campsites. We actually passed by one which looked really, really good. There was actually a big pile of wood there that somebody had left before us. But we didn't end up stopping there. We continued, checked out the next couple of sites. They weren't that great. Settled on sort of the third site after that we saw, which is fine. That's where we are now. Tim did paddle back to site number 1 where he gathered up a bunch of that wood and brought it over. So we have plenty of wood for a campfire, which is great. Setting up on this site is a little tricky. It's very rocky, but we were able to get our tent set up. Tim's his tent set up. I set up my Eureka no bug zone because the black flies are out. Haven't seen any mosquitoes yet, thankfully, but it's given me a nice cool place to sit with no bugs. And I actually set up my single man tent inside the no bug zone. So that's kind of cool. I can just leave the fly off and be safe and secure from the bugs. Oh no, this is good. I'm in the bug shelter. This is way better than having just sitting out there with the bug net on. These things are great. They're a little bit heavy to carry around if you're backcountry camping, but the Eureka no bug zones, it's awesome this time of year.
cook up some nice dinner.
So we cooked dinner and just basically settled in for the first night. Well, I'm up and just starting to pack up stuff inside my bug shelter. Got my tent packed up. Looks like Tim's about to take his tent down. We'll pack up, get some food, and start paddling. The wind has actually picked up quite a bit. Not too happy about that. It's going to be behind us, but there's already some pretty good waves on the lake, and I'm not a fan of paddling in big waves. Anyway, we got quite a ways to go. We got up and it was pretty calm, but within an hour and a half while we were packing, it really picked up quite a bit. So that's what we had to deal with, paddling down that really big lake. Stratton Lake is a very big lake. Well, we're on our way. It's really windy. I'm not enjoying it much at all. It's a little better now that we're around the corner from most of the wind, but yeah, it's nice. We ended up paddling to the end of the lake and beaching on a beach right by a campsite, which wasn't close enough to where we needed to portage to just get out there. So we had to head back out onto the lake a little bit, which was tricky, and then paddle down this river to our first portage of the day. All right, we have carried all our stuff over to the end of this first little portage. It's tiny. Thankfully, once we got on that river there, came to this portage, it was a little bit more sheltered, but it's still insanely windy. This lake that we're going to is a little bit better, but we should not have been out on that. There's some people that are paddling back. They have to get out through it. Good luck to them. Hope they make it. St. Andrews is also a fairly big lake, but because we just portaged into it, it was more sheltered from the wind than we were when we were on Stratton Lake. So that was nice. It was still gusty in places, but it wasn't that bad at all. What wasn't fun was the portage from St. Andrews Lake into Marie Lake. A 750 meter portage, almost straight uphill the whole way. This portage is a long one. I think it's 750 meters, something like that. And a lot of it's uphill. So yay! Oh, this is a tough hill. Yeah, I have no idea how far I've gone. Trail 750 meters. I don't know how far I've gone, but it's been all uphill and it's hard. Tim's down there a little bit. I want to see him come up, make sure he's doing all right before I continue. There's still more hill to go. And black flies all over. It's all uphill. Holy f***. I'd rather do a bunch of shorter portages than this. Oh my God, it's terrible. Whew. Well, this is it. This is the end of the portage. We got to put on this lake, and then it's a short paddle until we have another 350 meter portage, and then we're on Length Lake. Yay! Got to go back and get the canoe. I'm not going to film any of that. I'm leaving my camera here. I'm not carrying anything I don't need to carry. So we'll see you on the lake. We are back out on the water for like 5 minutes max. Then we got another portage. But it's nice to be in this little bit of breeze where it's not windy crazy on the lake, but it's enough to get the black flies away from me for a little while. Yeah, one more to go. We did the 350 meter portage over to Length Lake, and then we had a tiny little paddle over to the site that we chose. This is Length Lake.